talk today about the amazing power of first impressions and how they can serve you, not only online in a Zoom world, but also when we get back to the physical world. I've been able to study this deeply in my lifetime, and lots of other people have studied it too. I believe it was the great Thomas Jefferson who said, always act as if you're on television. All right, maybe it wasn't Thomas Jefferson, maybe it was one of the other presidents, but somebody said, always act as if you're on TV. And the reason for that is that because people are always watching. And it's interesting in an era where we talk about judgment, being a bad thing, because 15 years ago, we never said things like, no judgment here, or I'm not judging you, right? Judgment is alive and well. It always has been. Particularly good judgment is alive and well, thankfully. And so what happens is that people judge you based on signals that you send, right? So they judge based on two sets of signals: visual cues, right? Things that you show them, and verbal cues, which are things that you say, right? So things that you do and things that you say are being observed, if not judged, all the time. And in particular, people are paying attention to you in the first 15 seconds. This is called the first impression, everybody. And many of you have been around the block a few times. I see some senior people on the call, and some of you are thinking, I don't need this guy to talk to me about first impressions. I've been doing first impressions my whole life. Yeah, and here's how it works for you, especially if you're an older person. You've walked into so many rooms in your lifetime that you've stopped caring what you look like when you walk into the room. In fact, most people walk into the room, ladies and gentlemen, with what behavioral psychologists call a resting face or a neutral expression, right? It's the same expression that you'll have in your casket. So let's review. We walk into the room looking like a dead person, and then we can't figure out why we don't have more friends, or why our Rotary Club doesn't have more members, or why we can't close more deals if we're in sales. Thumbs up in the systems tray, or real thumb up if you do persuasion of any kind, if you're in sales. Excellent, thank you, John. How about leadership? If you're in leadership of any kind, thumbs up, because leaders depend on first impressions as well. Catherine Fahey, hi Catherine. Matt is thumbs up on that one, good, excellent. So first impressions are really important, particularly if you're in leadership or persuasion of any kind. And this idea of walking into the room with something other than a resting face would be very good. Now, what does that mean? It means you have to physically train yourself to smile whenever walking into a room. And it turns out some people are extremely good at this. You know who's really good at this? Celebrities are really good at this because they expect to be recognized when they walk into a room. And so they're on when they walk into the room. You see, most people don't have this mentality. We certainly don't have it at weekly Rotary Club meetings when we walk in. Smile when you walk into the room. We'll smile eventually. We'll smile when we get around to it. But we don't walk in with that kind of disposition, which is interesting to me. You know who else is really good at it? Politicians. Renee and I have been watching the Netflix series, I think it's Netflix, called The Circus. And it's a look back at the political environment the last, I guess it goes back 4 or 5 years maybe. And it's fascinating, especially now that we have some distance, right? But these politicians are really interesting people. You see them on the campaign trail. You see them in press conferences. You see them being interviewed. You see them just talking to people, and they know there's a camera over here. They don't even have to look up to see it. They know the camera's on. They know more people are going to see that video, and the smile appears, right? Who doesn't want to have this type of an image? Bruce Lindholm has it right now. Look how lifelike his photograph is in the Zoom tray. That's amazing, Bruce. Nice teeth. All right, so let's talk about how this works. I'm going to give you some hardcore tips on how to improve that first impression. Before I do that, I want to go back a little ways to tell you how I came to appreciate the first impression. I'm the eldest of 4 brothers. We were born 15 months apart in Trenton, Michigan. And my dad, over and over again, while we were growing up, preached to us that if someone ever met you and forgot that they met you, it would be the worst insult ever. So my dad worked very hard at first impressions. Now, he was just He was a cost estimator at Ford Motor Company. It's not like his vocation depended on him being this personality, celebrity style. But you know what he did on the weekends? He played trumpet in a wedding band. And he understood the value of entertainment. He understood the value of capturing someone's attention when you walked into the room. And he was an expert at it. And he taught his 4 boys how to do that. Later, when his 4 boys formed a band called the Caruso Brothers, some of you know I came up through the music business. We were the first boy band in the 80s. We opened for acts like Rick Springfield, Corey Hart, Joan Jett. Thumbs up if these names mean anything to you. I speak to young people now and they say, who? So we learned that if we were going to get people's attention with a first impression, say the first song of the set, or the first song of the night, or the first song people heard when they came into the club, that we had to be good. And we had to be good within 3 minutes. And if you wanted the dance floor to move, we had to be good within 10 seconds of beginning that song. So we always looked for songs that had a good, strong introduction, a good, strong backbeat, so people would move, they'd stop talking, stop drinking, whatever they were doing, and move to the dance floor. Because that's how the band got rebooked. If we got people to sweat and drink, the bar owner liked us, and we got to come back. So first impressions were really important to us in the music business. These days, I teach people how to deliver better presentations. And so I'm always stressing the first 15 seconds of a presentation, the first 15 seconds of a speech. And in the Zoom world, I've been doing executive coaching. I'm currently working with the president of a national association who is trying to keep the doors of the association open during COVID. And so he's on Zoom all the time, and I'm teaching him to be more telegenic and more engaging on video. Again, I'll be sharing more of those tips with you in just a moment. So something really cool happened for our part of the Rotary world last week. I happened to be public image coordinator for Zone 28, everybody. I share the responsibility this year with Michelle O'Brien, and we had a paired event with Zone 32, Rotary Public Image Coordinator Nikki Medeiros, holding a training event last week. Some of you may have attended. Thumbs up if you attended Public Image the Musical last week. So I had really short and direct marching orders from our director, Valerie Wafer. Valerie said, okay, Michael, you're going to do this public image program. It's going to be a training session for people to improve their marketing, but we're not going to use the word training in the title. We don't want it to seem like a training. People are trained out, people are zoomed out. So my team and I went to work on a title for this program, and that's what we came up with, Public Image the Musical. Thumbs up if that first impression of that title is mildly interesting to you. Yeah, I mean, who calls their training event Public Image the Musical? It's unusual. Then we came up with a graphic, and the graphic was this lit billboard like you might see at a movie marquee, and there was a Post-it note in red and yellow and really bright colors and fun font, right? Public Image the Musical, and then 3 things we were going to teach you in this event. Telling you about the information graphic because we never bothered establishing a web page for this event. We used a single graphic to get 640 people to register for this event. First impression, right? They had no idea what they were going to get. We never published bullet points. We never published a web page, right? Just this single graphic. And over 600 people registered for the event. First impressions matter. They absolutely do. So I want to show you share with you some techniques that you can use to make good first impressions in the Rotary world and in the real world. And then we'll open it up for Q&A because you may have some specific questions about campaigns that you're working on, how you can get more people to your Rotary events, how you can get more people to attend your club, how you can get better speakers to come to your club, and perhaps how you can raise more money for the greatest service organization in the world. So, do you have one of these? Let's write down these tips that I'm going to share with you now. And if you want, there are usually people summarizing this event and posting highlights later on your district web page or in the district Facebook page. You can just copy paste those tips, and then people that didn't attend your conference, and by the way, 52 people on the call right now. So we're talking about the other 1,100 people will see it in the Facebook post and in other places so that we can get these people short roped and pull them up the mountain, okay? So here we go, everybody. The first tip is be interested before you are interesting. We've seen this happen a lot in networking situations. Catherine Fahey's nodding her head. We go into these networking situations and we want to tell everybody how great we are, or what we do for a living, or what kind of traffic we've experienced on the way to the event. If we're Rotarians, we're humble people, so we don't brag about ourselves. We meet somebody and then we tell them how great Rotary is and why they should join our club or why they should come to a meeting, right? And that's backwards. First thing you want to do is show interest in the other person. Because if you show interest in the other person, you will be honored by the law of reciprocity, and eventually that other person will show interest in you. It's just a natural function of conversation. So the first tip, be interested before you are interesting. Second tip, ask questions. So you're asking questions like, what brings you to Rotary today? And I do this in Zoom on chat. And by the way, my club, I love my club, but it doesn't mean they listen to everything that I suggest, right? So sometimes we have these meetings where people come on to our Troy Rotary Club meeting, and I see clearly there's a visitor, and no one is saying hello. No one's greeting the visitor, as far as I know. Nobody verbally recognizes the visitor. Now, it's not my meeting anymore because I'm not club president, so I chat up the visitor in that chat feature in the bottom of the Zoom tray. That is a fantastic place to reach out to people and make friends and get a good first impression. And so I'll chat up the person. I'll say, hey, Robin, it's good to see you. Welcome to Troy Rotary. What brings you here today? And there's always a second question. That's the third tip. So if you ask one question, you've done the right thing, right? You've rolled out the welcome mat and you've shown interest in the other person. But what I find, it's the second and third question that convince the other person that you are indeed sincere, that you're very serious about this, that you're looking to establish a positive relationship with them, right? One and done, and you're out of there, it's like, oh, I just did it. It was cursory. It was the right thing to do. But if I ask you 2 questions or 3 questions, so with Robin on the chat, hey Robin, what brings you to Troy Rotary today? Oh, so-and-so said I should come, said it would be an interesting topic for me. Oh, fantastic. What do you do for a living? May I ask? Always polite, right? And what do you think, Robin, how do you think she responds? She tells me what she does for work. And because we live in a big world now, I don't assume Robin is in Troy, Michigan. I say, where are you zooming in from today? And she tells me what state she's in. And I'm learning about her. And eventually Robin says, what do you do for work, Michael? Or do you think there's a Rotary Club in my town that I might visit? And now the flywheel is spinning and that first impression is germinating, right? That's really what the first impression is for. I know Catherine Fahey does some farming. You know, you plant that seed and you've got to throw some sunlight on it and some fertilizer and some water, right, for it to grow. And if it's a first impression, you have to do all of that at the same time. Otherwise, the seed doesn't germinate. The relationship doesn't take off. I'm never going to see Robin again. You understand? So now is my time. Now is her time. And if I reach out first, I know that she's going to respond to me. That's a good rule of thumb, by the way, in personal meetings, that the person who reaches out first has influence in that relationship. So always be the first one to hold out your hand in the physical world. I assume we're going to be going back to handshakes at some point in time. So the first tip, be interested. Second tip, ask questions. Third tip, ask more questions. And the fourth tip is that you should listen to the answer. Don't just blow past it, right? Listen to the answer. Don't just ask the next question, because sometimes that answer is a foothold for another grapevine in the conversation. And I've been able to do this on airplanes, in buffet lines. I do it everywhere. I practice all the time, and I've gotten really good at it. And so I'm teaching other people how to do it now. It's a fantastic technique. So remember that in Rotary, all roads lead to 2 things: members and money. I call them M&Ms, right? So these first impressions turn into potential Rotarians, and their potential Rotarians join the club. You see how that works? And it has to go in that order, and you can't skip a step. It all starts with the first impression. So the better you are at first impressions, the more members will join your club. Let's talk about money. We're asking people for money all the time. We ask Rotarians for money. We ask benefactors for money. We ask sponsors for money, you know? And you know how most people ask for money in the Rotary world? We go knock on the business's door, you know, and we go, I'm from Rotary, and we'd like to know if you want to donate money to our next event. And we hold out our hand. Is that a good first impression? What would be better than just holding out your hand? How about a compliment? We hear great things about your organization. I've always wanted to meet you. Thank you for saying hi and being so nice to me and so gracious. We'd love to see you more involved with Rotary in the future. I have some ideas if you're interested. What are they going to say? No. You go, well, we're having a wine tasting coming up. Would you like to come? And, you know, I can even get comp tickets for sponsors. Maybe you'd be interested in sponsoring the event. So again, it's that staging out of the ask and not trying to jam so much into the first impression that really, really does make it magical. Let's open up for some Q&A and see what's on your mind today, and see if there's something that I can help you with in terms of a personal project or something that you're working on. Can we do that? Somebody maybe want to tee up the questions with me. If somebody is looking in chat, Janet Lamberston, thanks for the nice compliment. She types in the chat, hey, this guy's good.